Hello and welcome to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. Make sure you grab yourself a brew, sit back, relax and enjoy today's podcast. If you've not subscribed to our channel, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts and get notified when new ones are launched. If you're not following us on social media, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, Gardening with Ben. Also, I've recently been nominated for the Best Gardening Blogger and the Best Gardening Podcast by Grow Your Own magazine. So please try and help me and get these amazing awards by clicking on the link in the description and casting your vote for it. Voting closes at the end of July, so you've got plenty of time to do it, but don't do it until after you've finished listening to today's episode. So I hope you enjoy it. And let's get on with today's episode. Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben. Well, this is the second episode in a week. I'm doing well. I go off for a couple of months and then I'm back with a bounce. So yeah, today is the hottest day of the year so far. It's been like 28, 29 degrees and today has been my day off. So I've been down at the allotment this morning and this afternoon doing absolutely loads of stuff. So what is happening at the plot right now? So let's tell you what's happening. So one thing that's happened since I've last been down is that my sweet peas are starting to flower. Now I explained about this earlier in the year. I started my sweet peas off by starting them off in a Tupperware box with a piece of kitchen roll and sprinkling the sweet pea seeds onto the kitchen roll, spraying it with water, closing the Tupperware lid, and that started all my seeds off. Now this is the first time that I've actually tried this, so I shared this tip with you and I had 100% success rate on every seed. Every seed germinated, and then I sowed that into plant pots and I overwintered them, and then I planted them out around the beginning of May time, and the first flowers have come on them today. So I'm really hoping that they do start growing fast now and we start getting a lot more flowers on the plants. So I'll be sharing photos of these on my Instagram profile, so make sure you follow me on Instagram, Gardening with Ben, and you'll be able to see the photos of what they look like. Also, I planted some roses, what I got cheap, discounted at the end of last year, and about 3 or 4 of them have taken out of the 6 that I got, which is no hardship as they were very discounted. They were only a couple of pound, so I was hoping that they'd take, and 3 of them at least have. And the first one, it has come out in flower today, and I think that one was called the Queen of Bermuda, and it's dark red and it looks absolutely beautiful. I'm just waiting for the bud to open and get a smell of what it actually smells like. As one thing that I'm wanting to do on my plot is add more plants what are annuals, which will grow every single year, and well, they're called perennials, but yeah, I'm wanting them to grow every single year so that I don't have to keep replacing them, as obviously it's expensive and sowing all the seeds every year. So I'm wanting some plants that will grow every year and that I'll get a good flower on them, as obviously I'm wanting to attract the bees more and more and more on my plot, as the bees do help with pollination, and without pollination you won't get a good crop of fruit and vegetables. And looking at my plum tree this year, I've got so many plums on it. I really can't believe how many I've got. And one thing that I do to help with pollination is obviously plant all my spring bulbs to attract the bees, as the spring bulbs are the first flowers that the bees will see when they wake up from their winter hibernation and they start flying again. So you need to attract the bees to your plot to get them all attention and get them pollinating all your fruit when it starts to blossom. So that's my plan and it seems to be working. So what else have I been doing today apart from absolutely watering my plot to death, as obviously it's so dry at the moment. Hopefully we might get some thunderstorms tonight, but I don't know if there's any forecast here in Sheffield in the UK where I am. I think it's more down London, so we'll see how we get on. So I have been doing a lot of weeding. Obviously weeding needs to be done, but there's not so many weeds on my plot, obviously with it being so dry. I'm having a lot of trouble with bindweed, but I'm trying to keep pulling that out as I keep seeing it and trying to stay on top of that. But we've planted my cucumber and tomato plants outside this year. Usually I plant them indoors in my polytunnel, as I've got a massive polytunnel, but with the new job I'm not having as much time down on the plot as I'd like to, and that is a shame. But I've planted them outside. The reason being is that obviously if it rains it will water them for me, and obviously the soil sometimes stays more damp than what compost would. And market more varieties of cucumber, apparently you can grow them outside, so fingers crossed they do get a good crop. I'm guessing they won't get as good a crop as they would in the polytunnel, but you never know, because obviously the bees are flying around, so they might help pollinate them more. So it's a bit of an experiment to see how they're actually getting on. And also I've planted my tomatoes outside, so these are my red cherry tomatoes, so we'll see if we can get the red cherries tomatoes growing outside as well. The same reason is that I can't get down to water them as often as I would, so hence the reason why we've planted them outside. Now my garlic, that is nearly ready. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger every single day. Every time that I'm down at the plot it's getting bigger, and there's only a few brown leaves on it. It's not dying off yet, so I'm leaving it in the ground to see how big we can actually get these garlic to. Now these garlic were what I bought from the shop, as I couldn't get the garlic cloves myself, so I purchased all the garlic from the shop and sowed it that way. I know people say you shouldn't plant shop bought stuff, i.e. potatoes and garlic, as they're not disease resistant, but we'll see how we get on and see if we get a good crop from them. Now my onions, I'll give you an update on my onions. We've planted sets and we've planted seeds. I've planted them next door to one another, so the soil will be the same, and we're doing an experiment to see which grow better, seed onions or set onions, because some people say seed onions do a lot better than the set onions. So far the set onions are bigger, obviously because they started off earlier, but the seed onions are coming along really well. I'm keeping them all weed free, because you don't want onions fighting with the weeds as they take the nutrients and the water away from the onions, so you need to keep them as weed free as possible. So we'll see how we get on with that. Now one thing that I have absolutely loved today is I've been picking my strawberries. Now I don't share my strawberries with anyone. My strawberries are all mine. That and corn on the cob I don't share either, as they're my two favourite things that I grow just especially for me. And we must have over 200 strawberry plants, and they're just ripening now, so I picked a bowl full of them today, so you'll be able to see them on my Instagram. I've shared a picture today of what they look like and how happy I am. You'll be able to see a picture of me of how happy I am on my allotment, enjoying these. So yeah, it's been a busy day down at the plot today. So tomorrow I'm going back down to the plot, and hopefully we'll continue planting some more stuff. We'll hopefully sow some seeds. I need to get some beetroot growing. I started some off in the greenhouse and it's all died, but we're going to start some off in the ground and see how we get on with that. Now an update on my carrots. I've grown them all in pots this year. I've sowed the seed last week. No seeds popping through yet, which is I'm a bit surprised at, as obviously it's been warm weather, but obviously they've not had enough water, so I've given them a good drink today, so hopefully we'll start to see the seeds popping through in them tubs soon, so I'll keep you updated on how they get on. That's an experiment as well too, as I've never had much luck with growing carrots. I'll hold my hand up, I am absolutely rubbish at growing carrots, so that's the reason why I'm going to try and grow them in tubs this year to see how we get on with them. So that has been today's podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do leave a review on the page that you are listening to it on, whether it be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a review so that I can see it. It's always good to see who's listening to me. And also feel free to send me a message on Instagram just to say that you've listened to it, if there's any questions you want to ask, and I'll put them into my podcasts for you to listen to, my answers. So thanks for listening. As always, remember, keep gardening. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and make sure you do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts and get notified when they do launch. And feel free to follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, Gardening with Ben. And if you do have 1 minute, please do vote for me in the Grow Your Own magazine awards for Best Gardening Blogger and Best Gardening Podcast. The link is below, and there is also a link to our merchandise where you can get hoodies and t-shirts and a Gardening with Ben mug, so check them out today. Until next time, keep gardening.